Nadir Jiddou, Michigan business broker. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. We were a little late getting connected with you. How are you today?
Doing very well. How are you? Is this Ronnie?
Yes, I'm Ronnie. I'm so excited to talk with you because I'm wondering how are things going for you during this pandemic? Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? How are things looking in the business world right now? Because according to some of the latest studies, businesses are not doing well, especially small businesses. I think 1 out of 7 is anticipating they're going to be closing during the next year. Is that good for you or bad for you?
Well, first, my name is pronounced Nadir Jiddou. So you're close. Not it's just not Nadir. So it's Nadir. That's the way to pronounce my name. But in anyways, the it goes both ways for me right now. It's good for certain industries and bad for other ones. So I've been very busy for the past 4 or 5 months, just because there are businesses that are proven to be recession or pandemic proof, and we're selling those. And there are other businesses like you're mentioning that are failing and people want to just sell at whatever price they can get, kind of just doing a fire sale. So that also keeps me busy in certain industries. So to me, it's a buyer's and seller's market depending on the industry you're in. If you're like a salon, gym, or a bar, let's say, then that's a buyer's market. If you're, maybe like a liquor store or gas station, supermarket, then maybe it's a seller's market.
Yeah, looking at your website, I saw there were a lot of liquor stores right now that seem to be selling. Why do you think that is? Because they're the one industry that's been allowed to remain open this entire time during the pandemic. In fact, from some of the people I know, the sales have been incredible for liquor stores.
Yes, some people are doing double what they were doing. I mean, but most people are doing about 25 to 30% increase in sales, and they're reducing their hours. It's just some of them can't even keep up with all the business that they're getting, to be honest with you. And that's one of the reasons some of them are selling, even though they're doing better numbers, they just can't keep up with it. Because also another issue that no like we don't really talk about, people are worried about all the people that don't have jobs, but really there's so many jobs available that we can't get people to work just because some of the stimulus and some of the things that people are getting. It's not an incentive to work actually in some of the retail jobs or lower paying jobs anyways.
Oh yeah, you drive down the street and just about every industry, especially for the frontline people, the lower paying jobs, there are help wanted signs everywhere. So it's like you said, it's hard for so many of these places to be able to get the employees. How did you get into this line of work of selling just businesses?
Oh, for me, I've owned I've been a business owner since I was about 19, 20 years old, and I always like buying businesses myself and selling them. So actually, it was just a fluke thing that somebody told me at a wedding. Said, "Not." I always had my real estate license, so one of my buddies would say, "Nader, you'd be a good come work with me. I'm a business broker. You do pretty good at it." So I tried it out. I liked it, and that was about 5.5, 6 years ago. And I just really sold all the businesses that I had, and now I just do this exclusively. I actually sold my last business February 24th of this year. So I'm just strictly a business broker
Wow, I have to tell you, talking to you and seeing your background, a business owner at 19, I feel so lazy.
now. It was just, I don't know, it was not a fluke, but it was an opportunity that presented itself. I was still going to school, so I had three other partners, so it wasn't just me by myself. And we worked it and we built it into something else, and it kept growing. And we eventually split up as partners, and I just kept my own and I grew my own businesses. So I mean, it's like anything else. Anybody else who goes to school or does other things, it was a building stage in my life, so I just kept on doing it, and here I am now.
So, for people right now during this pandemic who maybe did lose their jobs and they didn't like their jobs to begin with, so they're trying to think of ways to recreate themselves and they're thinking about becoming their own boss by owning their own business, what advice would you give them knowing your background and everything you've been through?
Do your due diligence, find something you're going to love to do. I know everybody talks about, find your passion and everything, whatever it is that you like to do that. If you if you're doing what you love and you're going to do a good job with it, somebody will pay you enough money to make a good living out of it. So, if you always wanted to, I don't know, own a liquor store, let's just say, then go buy a liquor store. But maybe depending on the money you have, so there's just so many factors on how you do it. The risk you're willing to take, what industry you're going to go into, who you're going to hire to help you make the right decision. When if I had people advising me, like if I had Nader at this age advising me at 19, I would have done a lot of things differently, to be honest with you. So having the right people to advise you is very important.
Nadir Jiddou with us. He is a Michigan business broker joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Nadir, for those business owners that are either preparing to sell their business because it's a it's a seller's market, and they're having some success and they want to get out while the business is hot, what should they be doing right now to prepare themselves to put their best foot forward in selling their business? And similarly, for those that are trying to sell in more of a buyer's market, what should they be doing to prepare to put their best foot forward in preparing to sell their business?
They should both be doing the same thing, operating their business, as if they were not selling or buying, or they didn't have a seller or buyer. They have to operate in a good way, and also the curb appeal of the business. Just like when you're selling a home, make sure everything is organized, your paperwork is in order. That's what every buyer is going to ask for anyways, all your financials. The good thing about this year, everybody did all those PPP loans and everything like that, which kind of worked out well because all my sellers have all their paperwork. It's all ready to go. So when I ask them, hey, can I get the P&Ls for this year, they already have it ready. So having all those things in order is going to help you sell quickly to a potential buyer, whether you're in a seller's market or a buyer's market. If you don't have your financials, your lease, your equipment list, all these things in place, then it's just going to drag out the deal, and then we're never going to close anyways because time kills all deals.
That's good advice. And I always think of housing, where they go in and they stage houses and they plant new flowers out front and they make sure it's clean and tidy. Is that just as important for a business as well?
Of course, we're visual. We're visual people, right? When we see something, that's our first instinct is to look and see, and our first impression is going to be how the place looks, regardless of the business, regardless of the financials, right? That being said, it could be the prettiest business ever, but it doesn't make any money, then it's still not going to matter. So you kind of have to have both in a business.
For someone who they're on the edge, right? Because everyone is so concerned about the pandemic and the future and the uncertainty of the future. That's what's so scary for so many people. How do they go about, if they maybe have their life savings and they want to invest in something? What is the hot markets for people to invest in right now? Or is it really just based on passion driven?
I mean, if you want to invest into something that, you want to make sure when the next pandemic happens, you're going to be safe, then, you should just only focus on those businesses, right? Because it's been proven in this case, but the next pandemic, I mean, it could be 100 years from now, or it could be handled differently than it was this time around, right? So if you go after those businesses, you're probably going to pay a little bit more than you would normally because it's a seller's market, right? So what I see a lot of where the deals are at are some of these businesses that, in time are going to become very profitable businesses. People will still have to eat. People will still have to get haircuts. They're still going to go to the gym. They're going to do all these things. And if you can make a good offer and buy something with a low risk and, keep it going for the next 6 months to a year based on the numbers they're doing now, in a year from now, you can have a very valuable business and, you can make money for a long time from there. So getting a business that maybe is not pandemic proof, but you can get a great deal on might be the best economical way to go. And keep in mind, if you go for something that's pandemic proof, the seller knows that as well. So they're going to want a little bit more money for it. So
what
just
about,
how you money.
I'm sorry, what about areas? Are there certain communities or certain areas that you would recommend people to look at to invest in? Because maybe that's going to be where people are moving in, because we're seeing the real estate market shift right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is super hot, right? Everybody's buying. I mean, you can't even put an offer on a house right now, right? For the residential. And I mean, areas, it's for businesses, it's so different. Even same business across the street might do different. So for businesses, a little bit different because you can't just depend on that market for this kind of industry. Sometimes, like salons are struggling everywhere, really. I mean, there's not anybody who has a salon who's doing better numbers than they were before. So in that case, it's not. Certain industries, it might make a difference, but to me, the area, you would just have to look at it case by case, to be honest. That's what we really do. Each business is different. Even if it's in the same city, same street, it might have a different price for even somebody doing the same amount of sales.
Nadir Jiddou with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. He's a Michigan business broker joining us today on the show. For those businesses that do want to stick it out and are going to continue to operate even through the pandemic and try to push through however longer we have with this and stick with their business, what advice are you giving to them to continue to do their best to be profitable and maybe put themselves in a position that when things do start returning to normal, they can not only recover quickly or efficiently, but even thrive in that situation?
Yeah. I would say just try to run as lean as possible. I mean, this has forced all business owners to run very, very tight operations, right? And I would say take care of your employees. I mean, they've never been more valuable for business owners because there's just not, the pool is not there. So taking care of your employees, do innovative things. With this pandemic has forced us to do a lot of different things. I mean, Zoom meetings and all the things we do now, they have to adapt to what's going on and not keep crying about what was before and what happened to them. If you move forward and adapt to the situation, I think in 6 months to a year, or it may be longer, I don't have I don't know 100%, but if you can stick it out, I think the people that do survive, especially with the industries that have been hit the hardest, will be very successful.
So what you're saying is you don't have a crystal ball?
Oh, with me.
That'd be great as a business owner, right?
I wish I had. I mean, this affected my business as well. I mean, even being a business broker, it affected my business, and I didn't just, close down shop. I lost a couple of employees when this happened, so I had to just adapt and do different things, and hire different people, and just do everything differently to get my business back to where it needs to be.
And you talked about business owners having to adapt during this time. How important has social media been in all of this with the business owners to be able to adapt, but also to try to promote their business as well?
I mean, social media has been very important in all businesses for a while now. I mean, if you don't have a presence, at least just some sort of presence on social media, then you're missing the boat. Especially a lot of it is free. And even to do a little bit of marketing is not that expensive. It's just a little bit time consuming, and some people just don't want to deal with it. I mean, even myself, I don't do too much on social media, but I hire people that are willing to do it for me. So even if you don't like doing it, you have to have a presence on there. Google, working on your AdWords or SEO, all these things that you have to do. You're not just going to send out coupons in the mail and hope for customers to come anymore.
And plus, a lot of people, when you get that mailing, you just throw it out anyway. I always look, if they don't have a online presence and they don't have a social media or even a website, which is so cheap to develop right now, and they make it easy, then I typically feel like I don't want to do business with them because they could be a fly in the night shady business.
Exactly. And it just shows, just a little bit of effort goes a long ways in marketing. I mean, that's the main thing that I do for my customers is from the restaurant business, I learn a lot about marketing and how to go after specific people. So in any industry you're in, there are people out there and you need to go after them and you need to let them know that you're still in business and you're wanting them to come to your business, even with the pandemic, or if you have to take your business to them. I mean, there's so much going on with a lot of places that had sit down are doing a lot of carryouts and deliveries. So that's how you adapt in the restaurant business. That's what a lot of people did. So if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Cater to different kind of customer or reach out. Sometimes a lot of these business owners never even did any marketing or advertising. So they were just They turned the lights on, people came in, they made enough money, they were happy. With all what's going on right now, it's a little bit of a different time, and you really have to adapt. If you don't, you're going to be left behind.
No one wants to be left behind, especially now more than ever. Just a couple more minutes here with you on the Oakland County MegaCast. Anything that we didn't touch on that you think is important for people to know?
I mean, the main thing right now that I hear the biggest complaint is hiring. And, when I had my places, I always struggle with hiring. That's never been an easy thing for any owner. It's always an issue, right? So what you have to do as an owner now, you really have to be more creative. You really have to try every single thing possible. There are great employees out there. You just have to find them, and you have to talk to them. You have to, sending out emails and just like what I hear a lot is that they get a lot of applications and then nobody shows up to interviews, right? Because they're just communicating via online, like email or text or whatever. You have to call people, you have to text them, you have to email them to get them. It's almost like you're trying to get a date with these people, so you need to get them in, do your best to get them in, to entice them to come work for you. You may have to pay them more, and if you do, that's okay. If customers are willing to pay for your product, charge a little bit more to accommodate for the higher wages you're going to have to pay the employees of today's market. So employees, you have to get a little bit more creative to get them to your place so that you don't have to shorten your hours. You don't have to close down your business because you can't operate. I know a lot of people that are turning away business because they can't handle it. I just couldn't.
So you mentioned hiring. I think we just came up with a business together. Why don't we do Bumble and Bumble for businesses to hire?
I mean, I've always thought if somebody, the problem is for any employees between $10 and $20 an hour, it's really hard to be a recruiter for them. I mean, you can kind of be that way, but it's just not enough money. And I've thought about it, but the recruiters really do it a little bit higher wages so they can get a bigger commission on it. So,
Right.
I mean, it would work. It would work. But
Swipe right, swipe left.
yeah, hey, let's go. There you go. It would work. It would work because it would just cut out a lot of the extra stuff that you don't need to know. I mean, when I was hiring for my restaurant, yeah, I wanted you to have restaurant experience, but my main thing was, can you show up on time? Were you a good person? I can train you to make a pizza or whatever. That's not a big deal.
Right. Well, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Quickly before we let you go, though, do you want to tell everyone where they can reach you if they do have a business they want to buy or they want to sell right now?
Yes, you can always get a hold of me with a telephone. That's one thing we can do. 248-220-3274. You can call or text me on that. Or you can check out MichiganBusinessBroker.com, and we have all our listings, and you can also get a hold of me on that as well.
Thanks so much for your time. We so appreciate it.